So how you doing, Zach?
all by yourselves. All by yourself.
He was there. Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 33 of On the Back Hash, where we talk about things in pageantry arts. My name is Cedric, joined with Will, Zach, and Chris. How's everybody doing today?
I don't even remember what we're going to be talking about this episode anymore.
Weird.
I mean, the Twilight
Zone.
Huh?
What was that, Will?
I was just saying, we are here.
We are here.
We are here.
Here we are. Together again, we kind of took a little bit week off of our spring break. Well, Will permanently gets spring break.
Theoretically.
He gets to work out.
Definitely not mentally.
Awesome Instagram reels.
Spending money that we don't have.
Mm-hmm.
Them reels are for me getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning.
It's too much. It's too much. No.
Yeah.
I wake up at 5:30 and I'm barely making it. So
I'm used to it, man. My last job had me getting up at 4:30.
Nope.
To be there by 6.
Oh, I remember those days. Those are some good snap stories.
Wow. We don't like
No.
None of that.
Oh, well, I enjoyed my spring break.
Yeah,
I only gained about 20 pounds, but I went to see my family in Baton Rouge.
Nice.
Go
ate all the delicious foods and took all the naps and had no agenda, no obligations for a week, and it was magnificent.
Listen, people.
And I read a book.
You underestimate nap time. Like how glorious it is. And my kid fights it all the time. I'm like, I need one.
What's a nap?
Anytime I can. I love them.
If I take a nap, it's got to be for at least 3 hours. And then that means I'm going to get
that's called sleep. That's not a nap. That's.
But they say I read somewhere that you should if you go to sleep, you should sleep for at least 3 hours.
Well, that's just because you're going through you're going through your sleep cycle. Yeah, I'm gonna say. I heard that if you take a nap, it's supposed to be like
45 minutes.
Yeah, 45 minutes. Because after that, that's when you get into your cycle, like your big cycle. So you're supposed to wait. If you get 45 minutes, that's what you need. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not trying.
Or you could play that gambling game where you get all comfy in your chair with your blanket and there's no alarm and you're like, I'm gonna let destiny decide how long this night's gonna last. And then you just kick back.
6 o'clock the next morning.
Saturday.
And then you wake up and it's dark in your house and you're like,
it's November.
What happened?
You thought you're late for work, you start getting ready. You're like, oh God.
Oh, I have done that. Woke up at 7 p.m. and thought it was 7 a.m. and was late. So I was like rushing, trying to get stuff, put my pants in the dryer so they would be wrinkled. And then I thought, wait a minute. And then I realized.
Ain't nothing worse than waking up early knowing you don't have to work.
Oh, it's the worst.
Anything.
Worse.
You're still in a rush.
Could be. Don't know about that.
Yeah, Sed's over here taking siestas.
I don't take naps. That's the thing. I don't take naps because I heard that you should only sleep in 3-hour cycles. So I don't take naps. Plus, I sleep with the CPAP machine. So if I take a nap without my CPAP machine on, I wake up and I feel like complete and utter garbage.
It's true.
So it's not.
There ain't no way.
It's not worth it.
I sleep for 3 hours, man. I probably won't go to bed that night. It's going to jack my
that's
sleep.
what I'm saying. That's why I don't do it.
But I hate it. Yeah, it's crazy.
Like that's the least that I'll do. Like if I stay up super late for some reason, like I'm writing, because that happens a lot. And I'll go to bed at 3 and then wake up at 5:30 or 6, and that's the equivalent of a nap. Like that'll get me through the day. But when I get home, I'm like out. out.
Dude, I think about all those times back in college when I was pledging and we had many later nights and the sun was coming up and I would sleep for like an hour and a half and I made it all the way through the day. I'm like, my ass could not do that. I'm like,
my
I gotta
schedule
get
was so jacked.
I'm like, how did I do that, man? Like,
No.
that was like, 15 years ago, but I mean, like,
And the weekends were the worst because I did that year of indoor, to bring it back full circle. I did that year of indoor, and so the next year I didn't do it, it was my senior year, and I got in the habit. I would go to bed at like 3-4 o'clock in the morning, and I would not see AM. Like I would sleep at least until noon. Like
it's like on the Jersey Shore. Went out to
Yes.
Karma too long, and
I just didn't, and I was like that for a long time. Just here recently, I started feeling sleepy at a normal hour, and by normal for me, that's like 11 o'clock. Because I know that's still late for a lot of other people.
My sleepy is like 9:30. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
Speaking of sleepy, let's talk about Color Guard.
Yeah, we haven't talked for a while.
I don't know if that's the segue you wanted.
I'm kidding.
Because y'all be sleeping on these
And
guards.
there goes our subscriber. Oh, snap.
Yeah, Will saved you, Zach.
Will
He
saved
saved you. He saved you.
He knew. He knew.
Chris Cedric will do not condone anything Zach Watson said.
We've said that plenty of times.
Disclaimer. I don't condone what I just said.
Plenty of times.
It's fine.
Zach
The
is
theme of the
something
pod
like
of Zach is his own and only his own. Does not condone anything on the back hash of said Chris or Will.
So,
On the back hash, copyright 2023.
you sound like a bad mumble rapper.
Have you guys seen that ludicrous Jif peanut butter
peanut
commercial?
butter one, yeah.
Oh my god, dude, that's the best burn of all time. That's so good. God,
Was that Pearl Jam?
Oh my God.
We are here. Golly.
Zach just took us to Chicago, 1996. Wrigley
Right.
Field, right there.
That's right.
So anyway, it's Guard
Anyway,
Championships.
so
If your Color Guard is a Pearl Jam show, you automatically win.
There you go.
I won't read for that one.
So the Guard affectionately calls this week Debbie Week. And I used to know the story behind why they called it Debbie Week. So if a Guard person watches this podcast and you know, please elaborate on the story in the comments to save me from sounding like an idiot. But they do call it Debbie Week. I forgot who told me that story too. But it's the big week. It's the big week. So with that, we're going to talk about kind of like how World Championships works, and then our experiences, because we have all been to World Championships in some kind of capacity, whether it's been a performer or a teacher or just a spectator. We've gone to Dayton, Ohio, and experienced that whole thing that is WGI that weekend. And I had a really good discussion with some of the guys that worked a couple of years ago. We went on a trip. We went on a guys trip. I don't know where we went. But anyway, we went on a guys trip and we was talking about stuff. And the topic came up: what's a bigger event in Dayton, Ohio? The WGI Championships are the first four.
Wasn't that Ninja?
oh,
No, that wasn't Ninja.
No,
It was
we just talked about it when we were on the trip.
yeah.
That you had talked about it with other people. Yeah.
Yeah, and I, you know, me being the only guy that's known about the pageantry arts, I told him, I said, guys, I really do think it's the WGI Championships. I was like, no way. It's like, listen, you got between 2 weekends, you got over almost 500 groups coming to compete at this thing in Dayton, Ohio, and I said, you got to think they all got to get hotels, they all got to eat, they all got to keep themselves entertained. And I'm like, this is for 2 weeks. The first four last for 2 days.
and they had to use 2 arenas. Like, think about that for a second.
More than that.
More than that, yeah. More than that, yeah. Yeah, more than that now, yeah.
Now it's outrageous.
Now it's like I mean,
I've
the
been-
guards are like 5, I think.
I've been to
they
the
all
first
over the
4.
map.
I've been to the first 4, and I've been to WGI Championships, and hands down, WGI Championships is the biggest thing. Like, the amount of money that they probably make, Dayton makes off of those 2 weekends alone, gotta be insane. Now, I'm sure they get a lot of money for NCAA too, because that's a traditional thing and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, that's one of those like sneaky things that like not a lot of people know about, but Dayton knows about it, and they know they can make a lot of money off of it. So,
Well, one of the guys I was with, he likes to get to the bottom of things. So he actually called the city commerce or city commissioner or
BG,
Chamber of Commerce?
the City of
Chamber
Commerce.
of Commerce or whatever. He called them and asked them this flat out, just like, he said, "Do you think you guys, how do you think you guys do financially for the city when it comes to these 2 events?" And they're just like, hands down, it's the WGI weekends.
We got to think about it. Like, okay, all those Scholastic A guards, every one of them is going to bring their adult with them, who's going to bring grandma, grandpa to see their baby at World Championships. It's you're dealing with kids that are high school age. It's different from the independent groups who are older and can drive themselves. They don't have to have somebody there with them. But like, these high school age kids, their staffs and then their families come up and watch, little brother, little sister, or big brother and big sister who march before them. Like, sometimes those weekends become a whole family ordeal. So right there, from one performer, you could have potentially 6-7 tickets sold along just to see them.
Because it's just like Sid said, it's like you're talking about all these groups, and there's like just guard alone. You can talk about like almost 500 some groups or whatever, or 100 some groups here and there. But then you also have to add on how many kids are in those groups alone. If you talk percussion alone, just Scholastic World, hell, just the drum line, the marchers by themselves, you're talking 20 plus, just the battery.
Yep.
That's 20 plus some kids on the floor. I ain't even talked about the front ensemble. Then you talk about the staff. And then you talk about any parent that is involved with that child that may have the ability to make it here, they're probably going to come. And then you're talking about the people within the city itself that already have a big, wide range of band going on anyways. So it's a major thing. And then you spread that out between, like they said, 2 weekends, and then you count. I don't know if you can really count the regional, but I mean, if we're just going to talk about champs alone, I mean, it's wild, man. And we are all over the place now.
Yeah.
All over the place.
I think people will look at the arena and say, well, it's not full. They only filled up the first half. Well, that's why people, why you're not filling up a whole arena with people. Those people have been there. Like, Thursday is the big day. Everybody performs on Thursday. So you're going to have thousands of kids performing Thursday. That's at least one night of hotel.
They're only filling out one half of the arena, but they're filling it up for 4 days in a row.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
And
they didn't count all the people out the
and they're doing that in 4 different arenas.
Yeah.
Yeah. There are some people that won't even go in the arena. They'll just go and watch in the lot.
But they there.
Yes.
And we are tearing down in the mall, not literally, but folks are at the mall out there, all kinds of restaurants. I mean.
And Dayton welcomed it. There was actually, it was funny too, because after we had that conversation, I saw there was an article or a news crew that did something that talked about the economic impact that WGI has on the city of Dayton. I sent that article to the fellas too, and they were just like, "I guess you're right," because we're talking about multiple millions of dollars of economic impact that those 2 weekends have. And I love basketball. I love college basketball, but the first 4, you're only getting that for 2 nights. That's it.
And no one, I know we're dwelling on this, but like, you know about the first 4 too. Not everybody the fan base is not coming to that arena. Like, the only reason why I get to go to it is because we sucked when we were in the first 4. But,
we were there.
It was drivable, right? There's a lot of people that are out there that West Coast, they ain't bringing people. Or
No.
it's your lowly 16 seeds. They don't have a big fan base to begin with anyway. And so, that's when sometimes I just joke around with people that don't know anything about the pageantry of the arts. You guys don't understand how big of a following that these groups and this organizations actually have. I talk about DCI all the time. Really, people watch that stuff. Guys, these things are full. It's full, and there's people out in the lots. There's people just doing tons of stuff out there. And you just don't see it because they're just, I'm saying ignorant in the best way. They're just ignorant to the situation because, they've never been exposed to it. So it's always good to show that, and people are wow, really? I'm yeah, it's bigger than you think it is.
No, so it's pretty huge. And if you're on Facebook and you have friends this week who are guard who marched in WGI, or you might see them change their profile picture to a picture of them when they marched in celebration of this week. And next week you'll see drummers do it. I know I always post a picture of me and Will when I was doing the Cluckers of Death in that picture. But it's a huge celebration. It's kind of like a brotherhood and a sisterhood or a fraternity or sorority to say, I've done this. I've marched on this floor. Last year, and I didn't even know she felt this way. I just saw it on the Instagram post. But, our drum set player last year, she was just like, I reached one of my goals of actually playing on UD Arena's floor. And I was just like, well, dang, I didn't know that this meant that much to you. Because, she was quiet. She never really talked. But that was something that she always wanted to do. And she got to do that. So it's a cool week for us as veterans or alumni of the WGI program, because it's, like I said, it's a big celebration. My buddy Terry calls it a family reunion. Where you catch up with everybody. And I look forward to it. Next week I'll be gone. We're leaving out Wednesday of next week to head up, but just looking forward to seeing people. And I've met some new folks this year at the regional that I hope I bump heads with and get to shake hands with, while I'm up there next week. So it is a Thursday, Friday, Saturday. It is a 3-day event. So prelims start Thursday. So every group that has signed up for WGI World Championships, and all you got to do is go to one regional. You don't have to have a qualifying score or anything like that. All you have to do is complete one regional, and then you're good to go. So anybody can sign up for it. But everybody will compete on Thursday this is for guard. Guard is this week, so we're going to kind of just concentrate on that. But across, I think it's 5 arenas that they got going on, battling it out. I've been trying to find the specifics about how they're going to break everybody down. They show them on the percussion one, but the guard schedule they don't. But I can give you just a really quick kind of analysis of how that goes. And if somebody can find it, that'd be great. So what they do, if Thursday is prelim days, so they take everybody, and the guard classes are large, so there'll be rounds. Like Scholastic A, there are 12 rounds. And there's a certain amount of number that they'll take to move on. I think about 50% of the Scholastic, I think maybe all the classes, but at least 50% of the A class moves on to semis. And then from those semis, they take the top 20 in Scholastic A, top 15 in every other class. I looked that up to get to finals. So in these rounds, they will take. So basically, it's the first thing you're doing is you're competing in your round. Okay, so all of the rounds, I believe, have 12 groups in them. Okay, so you're competing in your round first. You want to finish, I think, in at least the top 3. It may be top 5, but top 3 or 5 or so. You want to try to finish there in your round. If you do that, you automatically move on to semifinals. Okay, but if you don't finish in the top 3 or 5 in your round, you still got a shot, because after that, they take all of the rounds at your site. Or if these are all the rounds at your site, are like in a pod. So maybe they may take like rounds 1, 3, 5, and 7. And then or 1, 3, and 5. And then 7, 9, and 11. They may do that. I wish they had it up where I could see it. Then they combine those rounds. So they take the top 3 out of each round, throw it in. And then out of the rest of the people in those 3 rounds or whatever, they say, all right, the next 14 or 6 or 9 or how many ever it is, highest scores, you also move on to semis. So while you may not finish in that top 3, if you finish 4th with a high enough score, you get to move on. Or maybe even, 9th or 10th in your round with a high enough score, you still get to move around. Okay. So, and I think they do that because they try to balance the rounds, I'm sure, but ultimately the rounds aren't all balanced. Also, the judging panels shift from every couple of rounds. So like one judge is not judging, 72 guards the whole day. They'll judge
Could you
36,
imagine?
and then they'll switch. I know.
It's crazy.
I have a hard time judging 10 to 12 at a marching band show.
Mm-hmm.
But they'll swap them out of 36 and then another panel. So you will only ever be compared to the groups that you were judged with the same panel. So that kind of keeps it fair because then you're getting a fair read against somebody else. So you might have been in round 5 and you might be scored against somebody in round 1, but at least you know it's the same panel. So they do that for each of the groups or each of the classes. So those guys move on to semis. Semis, they break those down in the round. It's not as many rounds, obviously, because there's not as many groups. They do the same thing. They'll take the top 3 or 5 or something like that in each round, and then they'll probably, if it's the top 4, then they'll take the next 7 high scores out of the 2 rounds, and that's who moves on to finals. If they need 15. So it is really a battle, especially in A class, because
Jesus, A class.
there's so many.
It's just unreal. It's unreal. Each round, like you said, each round is different numbers. And so I'm sitting here looking at certain numbers. Some's got 10, some got 12 in it, 8 in it. But 2 different sites. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 blocks each.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Crazy.
To me, it's harder to win a Class A championship in guard, especially guard, than it is.
Hands down.
That means
Hands down.
you had to survive.
Mm-hmm.
You had to survive.
You know you bad if you even go to finals.
Mm-hmm.
You know you a bad group.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like, God, oh,
Like you're going to narrow it down to, what, 15?
you made it here? Okay.
Yeah.
From 375? Okay.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
that's basically the equivalent of winning the NCAA tournament. Like,
It really is.
everybody's got a shot to get there, and you got to get
Yeah.
hot at the right time. And that's I've been telling my kids, it's like you can't win it all if you don't get there. You got to make it to finals. And for them, it's like you got to make it to semis. If you get to semis, you got a chance. If you make it, and then if you finish there, if you make it to finals, you got a chance. So yeah, it's a hard road.
All day, bro. God, oh.
It's a tough road. Like I said,
What is SA? 4.5 minimum?
Yeah,
On the floor?
shorter. Yeah.
I mean that's so much guard, dude. That's so much.
I mean, if you stay at the A class for the entire day, you would have watched 72 guards.
Mm-mm. That's
nuts.
I don't know.
It's so good, but it's nuts.
I
don't know
love the
people
pageantry of the arts.
who-
I couldn't do. There's no way I could sit through. I can sit through. I can't even barely sit through 12 at DCI.
I was about to say we joke around about going to 15, but at the same time, we want to sit there and watch 15 drum corps, 10-minute shows.
That would be gay.
We say we do. I mean, you think about it. We've watched those regionals
yeah.
for DCI that have
That's true.
all the world class groups in it, and a couple open.
Yeah.
Those are long stretches, man.
Yeah.
And we're just watching.
Yeah, we're just sitting in the living room, like, talking and ordering pizza. And
I can
whatever.
go pee whenever I want to.
Yeah, I can imagine. No, thank you.
Gotta put a number down on everything.
Yeah, and then slap a number down. That's the crazy.
Well, remember that one year at DCI finals, we all tried to predict and guess numbers and stuff, and I got through like 4 groups, and I was like, I don't even know.
Yeah.
Like, I could place them, but I couldn't tell you a score. No.
Exactly. You want to give judges a hard time, but it's hard.
Don't want it.
It's hard.
Armchair judging, man. Easiest thing in the world to do.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And I think part of the reason why people don't understand judges is they can't talk to them. You know, I've always said, I wish I heard what they've said to somebody else and see if that makes sense with what I'm hearing. But you don't get to talk to the judges unless there's a critique, which is one reason why WGI is you know, a good thing, because you can actually talk to the judge. Like, okay, why did you give me this score?
Mm-hmm.
Whether it was for a good reason or a bad reason. And they can tell you, well, this is what I think. And you have that right to answer questions. And, you know, and we know this. Our perspective from the audience is completely different than a judge's perspective.
Yeah.
Because we're not listening to the
WGI.
judge. We're not listening to the judge. We're listening to entertain, which is 2 totally different things. You know.
Yep.
But,
Yeah, that's it. I mean, you know.
But I do say we called the Boston thing. All of us did at DCS finals.
listen.
It always comes back to Boston.
So,
Lord.
but
The drum line is not the percut. Okay, sorry. Sorry. I just. Oh, sorry. Wheel got my head. I was trying to get in there for a second. My bad.
So, yeah. So judges are give those guys a break. They definitely earn their money on those weekends.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, it's still an educational activity, so they still have to give feedback, but they have to rank you. And I think people don't understand that is, you know, the judges should still be telling you stuff to make you better, even though it might be your. I mean, I know they've looked at some groups and been like, okay, this ain't moving on. So you have to stay positive to make sure that last experience is something that they will remember and want to go back to. So that's a very hard thing for them to do. So, but yeah, good luck to all of the guards. Competing this weekend. I know a couple of groups that I'm interested in, and you guys can throw some stuff out there. We talked about this before the podcast, but was it Palm Desert? Middle school, who is in open class. Listen, if you're gonna go and you're gonna be that good, just go all the way. Make the finals. I'd love to see them for finals.
That'd be dope.
We watched your video a little bit before we started, and like, why? Why are you in middle school doing those things? Like, that's why they're in Scholastic Open. Like, their first toss, you're just like, okay, well, you should be able to do that. So really cool.
Looking forward,
really cool.
Looking forward to watching Jim. I think it's a Scholastic A group, Hamilton, who did the show with the floor that has. This is a very expensive tarp to enhance the show.
Yes.
Flags in the Gym.
Flags in the Gym.
I don't know. It'll be tough because, like I said, that class is a gauntlet. But I'd love to see them make finals. I like tongue-in-cheek shows like that to go after folks. Eclipse A, Magnolia Project. Those groups have been. Eclipse A has been on the come up. I think having Big Sister up in world class has maybe helped them out some in that class. And then Magnolia Project, that show's beautiful, and it's really well done. It's the home team, so I think they got a shot at a medal. I think they got a shot to win the whole thing. They scored something ridiculous at their Central Championships. I think it's like 91 something. So they are poised and ready to go. So Shout out to them. World class. I think it's almost Elise.
Yeah.
For Scholastic.
It's always Carmel and Avon.
I got Tarpon Springs, man.
I haven't seen
phenomenal.
it, and that's the only reason why I can't say anything about Tarpon Springs. I just haven't seen it yet. I plan on watching it Thursday though.
Make sure I was going to say if you could get an early day one before the finals, do that. See it before anything happens on finals night. Try to see as many groups as you can on the first day. My favorite thing is like I tell people all the time, I want to see your first run because the first run is the real one.
Yeah.
Because anything after that is just adjustments. The first one is always the real one. So, yeah. If you're able to, do it.
Thursday, you're going to see a lot of kids and young adults giving it everything they have.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to see some heartfelt, emotional, energetic performances.
It's the ripping it from the NCAA. It's survive and advance, man. So you got to give your best performance you possibly can in that first round, and you see where you are, and you got to do it all over again. So this first round's going to be laying it all out.
I always want to peak in prelims. I want my best run to be prelims because if we can't get in the finals on our best run, we don't deserve to get in.
It don't matter. It don't matter if you peak later.
Surviving advance.
Mm-hmm. So if you don't have flow margin, get it because this weekend alone will pay for your flow margin. If you watch, and you ain't got to watch all day. If you watch 1 or 2 rounds Thursday, somebody's semis or finals on Friday, and then the finals on Saturday, you have paid for flow margin just by watching those 3 days. It's such a good deal. Such a good deal, and you get it for the whole year, so you can watch the percussion.
Do you know if they are rebroadcasting the prelims and
yes,
semis? They are doing all that. Okay, well, that's cool.
They are.
Mm-hmm. So there you go.
They are because
I know they usually do the finals.
I have been known to watch. Now we got festival this week, so I probably won't do that. But I've been known to watch some WGI.
Dude, that's in your content area. You imagine me like, guys, I know we're about to talk about the Civil War, but let's hold on a second. Let's just
I was about to say there's Civil War shows. There's a lot of Civil War type shows going on. It's right in the wheelhouse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now you see here.
Yeah. Those drums right there are the drums that they actually used.
Abraham Lincoln played that drum.
Oh my God.
Play taps the Gettysburg Address on this drum right here.
Listen.
Man.
So Carmel, and for me, I just haven't seen Tarpon. I would love to see Tarpon win it. I don't know when the last time they won it was.
It's been a minute.
I've always been a fan of their shows. Avon's show is really cool. I'm wondering to see if they add any more stunts to their show as well. Independent world, I think it's Cincinnati. Probably Cincinnati still is as well.
I was gonna say I think I looked at the last rankings. They were third, but I still think they probably are the favorites going into it.
Yeah. It's the tightest. God, that Blessed Sack show, man.
See, Blessed Sack is
it's ridiculous, but
it's good. Paramount is sneaky good.
Pride is if God, it's so hard, man. I don't know. For some reason, I have a harder time with color guard favorites than I do percussion. Because if you was to ask me percussion right now, it'd be like instant. But Pride, that show holds something. Huh?
I said you may need to look at the scores.
Oh, Jesus.
Scapa had their championships this week. Or had they prelims.
Yeah, they did. I have not looked. Look
here.
I will continue to boost up Amp Winter Guard.
Yeah.
That is still my fan favorite as an overall. The Amp. And they better make finals or I'm blowing it. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, God.
Chris said
No, that's-
Zach
it's so-
Macedonia, opinions of
such-
Will. Wow.
It's such a fun show, man. You gotta
Yeah.
see it. It's
And
such a fun show.
they keep a cool floor. They had a cool floor last year. It was like,
They
what
might
is-
have my favorite audio cuts too for their show, their track. Like them and Avon might have my two favorite audio cuts for their music wise for their show.
Avon has done pretty well too.
Like you gotta look,
Avon's
you just
cuts,
gotta
yeah.
hear it. Don't as you're watching it, listen to the track though. Listen to some of the stuff that they're layering in and their hidden sounds and gems and stuff in it. It's like, okay, y'all.
Yeah. So lots of beautiful things happening in the guard world. So make sure you watch.
So
It's,
I was doing some reading,
okay.
and there's an independent open, Vox Artium and Etude, I believe is who it is. Like apparently
Yeah.
those two both dropped like a 89 last weekend at the last regional, and they should be the matchup going into things to watch for because apparently whoever won that class last year got bumped, so it's like open
FIU.
door and independent open right now.
FIU won.
Yeah,
last year.
it's a rule. It's a rule in WGI. If you medal, you get bumped. In guard.
Gotcha.
So if you medal, you get
Smartest
bumped
thing
automatically.
of all time, right there.
There
But,
has to
so,
be
like,
some experience in circumstances.
I saw that wherever that article was, or somebody was talking about it, and so like I just watched earlier that Vox Artium. That is very interesting, and I really liked it. First of all, they have like 50 people in the group, which is insane when they all are out there. But like the whole, it's called, I think it's called "Till Death Do Us Part" or something like that. But Will was talking about having a good cut track. Like this one's got some good stuff, and it tells like a really good story. So if you're a person that likes to see a Winter Guard show that has a storyline to it, like I do, I definitely recommend them. I did not watch it yet.
Yeah, there's something to be said for what you said too, because there are a lot of different types of shows, and there are there are shows that are very story oriented, and the theme just smacks you in the face. And the designers and the guard themselves does a really good job of getting you into the theme immediately, immersing you into it.
It reminds me a lot of when the Academy did Drum Corps Bride. Like how from the beginning all the way through, it's like, yep. I get the theme. Like that's the way this one feels because it's like all the male members are in tuxes and all of the female members are in wedding dresses. So it's like from the very jump, you got that concept.
Well, I was going to say, look at watch our two React videos that we've done for Winter Guard so far. You can talk about the two differences.
Yeah.
In Gartex, you have the storyline that smacks you in the face, and you got the esoteric kind of stuff, you know.
That makes you kind of fill in the blanks.
Yeah.
On your own. I like shows like that. Well, I don't necessarily always get them. Like the fact that I can the interpretation stuff up to me. Like, what do I think about this? How did this make me feel particularly?
And I think both of them present very different challenges on how to do it the right way.
Yes.
Because you can try to be all whatty and make the people think, and then you're trying too hard almost. And then it's also, you can put the storyline out there just so stepped out, and it's like you're dragging people through it and doesn't leave them any interpretation because you've just basically bombarded them with
Or
it
they
the whole
wanted
time.
something that you did not include.
Mm-hmm.
I think we mentioned that last during the GTI season, I think.
Yeah. Or they pick up on, or they know what's going to happen before it even ends.
Predictable.
So they're just like, well, okay, I already know what this is going to be. It's another one of these. But if you want to see, if you watch those top guards, and you'll see all those different types of shows, and they're all done and designed at a high execution. If any of you guys out there are designers or want to be future designer of shows like this or lead a group like this, These next 2 weekends you need to watch and just sit and watch and see why are these groups scoring as well as they did. Because we all been there. We've helped either design a marching band show or indoor show in some capacity, and we always see these groups like, why is that beating us? We got this going. We have this going. We're doing all of this. We're doing all of this. And you might have the best design show, but if you ain't executing it, it doesn't matter. Or you might be executing the snot out of it, but if it's boring and it doesn't take the audience anywhere, you have to have both. You have to have both. So I get excited about this time of year. I really do, if you can't tell. I'm a little more animated than I normally am.
Or that's nervous and stressed.
No.
With festival and then World Championships.
Here's the thing, man, with that. I already know what's going to happen Saturday. And I'm eerily calm about next week. I am. I don't know why. And it's not an egotistical thing. I like our product. I like our product and I like my kids. And I think if we do what we're supposed to do, if we don't make finals, somebody's going to riot. I really think so. I mean, nobody has just said, man, that show's not good. Will have to talk me off the cliff. I kept saying, I don't want to mess it up. And he's like, you're going to stop telling yourself that or you're going to mess it up. And Terry kind of told me the same thing. He said, just stay the course.
Yeah.
So I think that's just what it is. It's like, I have to trust the kids. I tell the kids all the time to trust the process and not be afraid to be great. But sometimes your own advice is the hardest one to take.
Amen.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So I'm going to do my job and we're going to keep working hard and keep having fun and make some memories and let the cards fall where they lay. So, now, I say all of that. That doesn't mean my brain's not going 900 miles per hour. But I can at least fake it and make the kids think that everything's good. But no, I really am. I cut practice back an hour each day this week because I'm just like, what are we doing for 3 hours? Like, if we ain't got it by now.
True.
So. But, yeah. So kind of going along with heading to WGI next week. Let's talk about heading to WGI. All of us have been in some type of capacity. We just can kind of have, I don't know. Well, let's talk about our experience. So, like, that, since you're the youngest, going for the first time, like.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's been my first and only time, sadly. So I got to go as a staff member, and me as a staff member, anytime it comes down to a contest day, I am more nervous than any of the children in the ensemble, and that's just how I roll. Like I tell the directors I work with, I'm like, if we ever were to make finals, I will not be there because I'll be in the hospital. Like I will have either stroked out or had a heart attack or something because, like, we can be the only person in our class, and I'm like hyperventilating on the field. Like my blood pressure's through the roof, and I'm like, oh my gosh,
how we lose to ourselves?
Produce a response, man.
Yeah, like
listen, I was sitting there this past weekend at circuit championships. I'm like, oh my God, what if we get beat? Oh my God, people are going to think, oh my God.
So, but it was kind of different because when we went to World Championships, it was one of those, we're here, we're going to perform, and whatever happens, happens. There was no, like, pressure of, are we going to make semis, are we going to make finals? Like, we were pretty realistic with ourselves about it. We knew we had a good show, but we also knew we were in Scholastic A along with 700 other ensembles.
Yeah.
And we had 8 people on the floor. Like, what we're not Dartmouth here, but so then I got to, after that first day when we performed, we got our score, we got our awards. Yep, we're done. I got to be just a spectator for the rest of the time, and that weekend as a spectator at WGI was one of the best things ever because, you know, I was a brass player thrown into the percussion world, willingly, but, you know.
It was like, let me throw you.
And it's like you get to go and you see, like, these kids are my age and they're out here doing this. And, like, these programs are doing this. And then, like, my opinion of who was really good were only people I'd seen in our circuit. So I knew Mystique was good. I knew, like,
Mount Juliet,
Father Ryan, Page. Those were some staple groups that were solid. But then you get to Worlds and you're like, wait a minute.
Other states.
Like, they're, like, who I thought was
49
like,
other
good
states
and was, like,
at the front door.
kicking our butts. It's like they were, like, barely top 100. I'm like, wait a minute. Like, and then I got to see the California groups, and that was, like, just, like, you go and you're like, yeah, this is what this activity is, you know. And getting to see the, you know, the independent world class, like, it was like they probably finished 18th or 19th in independent world, but I thought it was awesome. Not that it wasn't a good show, but, like, you know, you go back to the, well, what's good to one person is different from what a judge determines is good, you know, because I was just there as, like, a kid in a candy store, like, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen. Oh my gosh. So for me, it was just like, it's like I was at Disney World for the first time.
Yeah.
I know
Chris, along the same lines, as an instructor, you went for the first time.
Yeah, I've been there as a staff member for 2 years. I think we did 2 years in a row when I was there. I think for me, it was being on the staff and teacher side of things that, like, the experiences that you get from the experience of your students, if that makes any sense. Like, you know, I always try to, you know, anyone that talks about indoor, I was like, you know, if you ever have a chance to take your group to championships, do it. Even if you think I am going to get last place, who cares? Take your kids up there. It's a rewarding experience for them, you know. Like, for us, going to practice in a different gym, you know, but that was something, you know, that we don't really get to do a whole lot until, you know, world championships, you know, and, you know, stuff like that. And then, like, getting to go out there and perform with people and seeing them just literally just knowing that this might be their last performance and them just giving everything they possibly can on the floor. And like Zach's saying, you're still a nervous wreck when you're doing that stuff, you know. It's really cool. And then just the overall just camaraderie, there we go, that is at the event alone. Just like we talked about, Terry talking about, it is a family reunion. You just go see people that you haven't seen in a long time and seeing all these people networking. And that's another thing. It's a great networking opportunity. Just to get to know different people and bounce ideas that you might have with people and staying in touch with them, especially with how, you know, social media works today. Everyone's like a text away or a Snapchat away or anything like that. And then just getting to watch the best of the best do their craft. I think it's something that, like, not a lot of people get to do. You know, like, you think of other professional things, like, I've been to baseball, I've been to basketball games, the professional, I've been all of those levels, but, like, those are few and far between for people to attain that stuff. If you're in the pageantry arts, it's very accessible to you. You know what I mean? Like, so you're able to watch who, you know, the best people at what you do. If you play snare, you get to watch the best people play snare. If you're a vibe player, you get to watch the best people play the vibes. And I think it's just something that, like, is inspiring and aspiring for people that go there, just to say, I can do that. Like what Zach was saying, like, you know, I told the kids when we go to DCI and, you know, all this stuff, like, those guys out there are literally 2 years older than you. Like, there's nothing stopping you from being at that level. It's only you that's stopping you from being at that level, you know, and that's something that I think that WGI Championships provide is that you see the Scholastic A's that you're in the same group with doing it, and then you go all the way up to Independent World, and you see all them. So you get to see the people that are your A's doing it very well, and you see people that are a little bit older doing it. And I think that's very, very good as a teacher thing, experience wise for your students. So I love it. I wish I can go up there more than I do, but so that's my experience.
Yeah, it definitely shows the kids that there's another level to what they can do and what's out there and what's possible. Because a lot of times, if you stay home all the time, and we talked about this with a certain group here in Kentucky, but if you beat up on the same people all the time, you start to have a false sense of how good you really are.
Yeah.
And until you step outside that realm,
yep.
To go against some other people. I always say, a good butt whooping never hurts anybody.
Sometimes your group needs it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sometimes they get like a false sense of hope or something, or they, when you go see the same groups every week out and you keep beating the same groups, you need to go somewhere with just a completely different, set of people in your class or whatever, so that you can, sometimes you need to come back down to earth a little bit.
Yep.
Nothing wrong with that.
No.
I want to say one more thing off of what Zach was saying there. I think that's what makes WGI so cool compared to, and I'm not knocking this at all, so don't tell me about it, but like BOA, is that it's so much more attainable for your kids to go do it. Like you might be one of the best marching bands in your state, but if you don't have the money to go BOA, you don't have the money to go BOA. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like WGI, it's a little bit more accessible, and you do get to have those experiences going against different people from around different states, or the circuit alone, circuits in different states too. So I think just awards, the accessibility is what I like about WGI a whole lot.
Yeah. I agree with that. Well, what about you? You've had it. You got the trifecta, man. You've been a performer, a teacher, and a spectator. So what do you think about, WGI Championships and what you expect in your experiences?
It's undescribable on a lot of levels, actually. Because each one holds its own individual value when you're talking about being in it and watching it and then teaching it. Man, and a lot of people wonder why people go back to the same groups over and over and over, no matter if they're winners or losers or whatever. And a lot of people sometimes forget that you create a family within that organization, and it makes it your worthwhile to go back each time to that same group or whatever. And that's how a lot of these groups grow and form. That's why a lot of people get so mad at BD. Hell, it's the same folks every day. I was like, when you get the same people coming back all the time, of course they're going to, evolve and become better. But when you're in it, man, I said, I literally just forgot. And I hate when I do it. I forgot who is the announcer dude for DCI?
Brad.
Yeah.
Both of them do it. They both do it.
Yeah. When he announced us in drum corps, it's one of those feelings. It's like I'm finally in something where I'm actually getting announced. It's the tiniest thing. That's an announcer. That has zero to do with your season. But to be in it, in the group, with your name being announced, it's the same thing in WGI. When you're on that floor at WGI Final or whatever, and you hear that name, and that guy finally says the group that you're involved with, and they say it's the smallest little tiny things, and then you see those. And I was fortunate enough to march groups like Mystique, and I'm just throwing those names out there, eclipsing them, because typically they go on last, right? They're the last groups are going. So about that time is usually when the arenas are filled up. And we always want we want all 3 days to be filled up, but it's just not always possible. So speaking just upon finals, when you're on that floor and you see that and you hear that in that kind of setting, in that kind of arena, in that place, it becomes undescribable. That's why you see all these groups, like I pick on Rhythm X from last year. It's just like, go back and watch that group. When they play that last note, that whole front line is balling.
Yep.
That they play that, they're on their knees, and it's just crying because it's like you do this whole show and you're in show mode. Last note, tears.
Yep.
It's like it all rushes back, and I feel like it almost happened to me every single time, man. And just like basically the same thing everybody else said, when you're teaching, you get a nervous energy. Because you're critical on your group because you know what everything is supposed to sound like.
Mm-hmm.
You know what they're supposed to do, and I just want them to have a great show. I want them to feel like I have felt, or I want them to just feel good after this. And I think for me, above good notes or bad notes, that's what I want the most in the end product. Man, can they come off this? I want them to come off this floor. And I want to be able to just sit back and watch y'all, even though I am the instructor for you or whatever. You know, that is what makes me nervous each trip. It's I don't know. It's weird because when you're spectating, you get the full effect. You're not worried about nothing. Maybe the only thing you might be worried about is if you have a favorite group coming on and you want them to win.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, you get to embrace everything. You just get to sit back, chill, and you get you get all of the energy and everything, and the whole experience of WGI in general. A lot of people don't talk about it enough, but I actually want to see what theirs looks like. But we got this thing called the tent that we go to at WGI. And the tent is basically, like in DCI, is basically all your vendors, everybody's in there. But instead of DCI, if you're in Indy, they have that whole, corridor or whatever, at the stadium.
Yeah, it's out in the foyer.
Yeah.
Or, I think that's foyer, but
Pavilion or something like that.
DCI, WGI created this huge tent, man, and they pack all this stuff in there, and everybody's in there, and it's an experience in
I
itself.
remember the tent.
And sometimes you tell your kids about it. It's like, man, y'all not gonna believe when you see it. You go in there and you see all these people. Sometimes a lot of people who do know them. You got Ralph Nader and them will come by. Harvey Hart will come by. Some of these famous people. You might even see Scott Johnson up in there, and they'll just be drumming and playing. And it's its own separate entity by itself. Then you got the lot. It's the same, warm up areas for DCI stuff, but to me, it's different. I don't know. It's so weird. That's why I always keep saying, man, you'll throw out all these examples a lot of times, but it's just so undescribable sometimes until you just do it. And like everybody has said, man, even if you don't have the means, find the way. Even if it's just your circuit, get involved, get your foot in the door, start something, do something. I'm telling you, man, I am living proof. Even if you are a wind player, it helps your wind players. Okay, I am a trumpet player. I started out on trumpet. I may have beaten on drums and liked drums, but I didn't have no qualms to want to do drums. I wanted to play a trumpet. I wanted to play a horn instrument. Then I got into percussion.
Mm-hmm.
And I keep telling people, I was like, and a lot of band directors don't understand. It's why it has so many benefits, man. It's going to change your wind players' abilities. It's going to increase their sight reading skills. There's just reading skills in general. It's got so many benefits in it. It's outrageous. But I get it. The money is a huge issue. But there are so many groups surviving off nickels and dimes, and they're hammering folks. So it's on a budget. A lot of it is want to. My last year with one of the schools that I taught at, where I was head, we reaching into our own pockets. I'm creating stuff out of stuff that I had in my own house, and we're bringing it them. Half of the stuff that we built, we brought from our own homes. Like, there are so many different ways to get involved and to get to these levels, but every bit of it's worth it.
I mean, we made a television screen out of a shower curtain and an old prop.
Sure did.
So I'm just saying,
did.
and we took it to the World Championship. So if you
Listen here.
yeah,
Listen here. What I tell you. We make stuff happen.
You make it work, man. You do what you got to do to make it work. And my experiences are kind of along the same line as I only marched for 1 year, but I remember there were things about that specific experience that I will always remember. And I remember warming up in Nutter Center a lot, and doing that whole thing out there, and because that's where when we marched, that was where they had the percussion stuff was at Nutter. Because they did percussion and guard at the same time because there wasn't that many groups. Mm-hmm. So guard got UD, they put the percussion units at Nutter. So, but doing that, I remember walking past the duck pond, going into the loading dock, and walking back behind the curtain, and getting ready for that and doing the run. And I can remember parts of the run and just remembering like wow, we scored a 92. That's crazy. And what, we're losing about 2 points to Rhythm X? What the heck? Who we had beat all year.
Right.
And then going back and doing it again. And then retreat. I remember finals retreat and hanging out with everybody else, standing by Rhythm X and all of these other groups, and the confetti and all that celebration of just, we made it through this thing. And I didn't know how big of a deal it was then. I knew it was a big deal, but it didn't dawn on me until after the fact. And now I take my kids through that same experience. And like, even when I make my itinerary, I'll put behind the curtain or, all right, we got to go up the Dayton ramp. And those experiences that I remember as a performer 20 years ago and seeing these kids experiencing that stuff, for the first time. It's really cool because those are things, and I always put in my itinerary, don't forget what you're about to go through this week. Like, yes, I want you to remember the performance and I want you to have a good performance, but you're about to make memories for the next 5 days. You're with the people that you've been around all season long. You've worked towards this, and this is just a celebration of everything that you've done. And that was the whole reason why we even started going to Worlds, is because when I started the group as a middle school group and they stuck with it for 5 years, I was just like, we're going. We can come in 99th place, and there's only 60-something groups. I don't care. We're going up there. We're going to experience this because I thought they deserved that. And I'm glad that, Zach, you got to come back on staff and actually got to go and experience that. And, because, like Will said, you can't describe it. Like, it's something that you have to go towards. Because it's, it's like the all-star game of any sport. The best people are all there. You get to see all of them in one spot at one time. And it's probably as close as you'll ever be able to get to them. Because if you go to the lot, you can be 10 feet away from the center snare of X or of RCC or of Pulse. Yeah. And you get to watch them drum and do what they do best. So I say if you're going up there as a performer, soak every bit of it in. I mean, every single bit. The car ride, the bus ride, the van ride, the trip to the mall. We go to the Air Force Museum, Scene 75, the tent, the dance class, the guard have the dance class the next day after championships. Like, all that stuff, man. The hotel stay, all of it. Max and Irvis, it's not anymore. But yeah, Max and Irvis. And I was so upset when they closed that down because that was an experience that I wanted them to have. Yeah. You build these traditions.
From up there.
Yeah. I was glad they rebuilt Scene 75. It's ridiculous in there now. They got a freaking roller coaster in there.
Man, I won't see it.
I might do a vlog.
I was going to say, with everyone,
but yeah,
you know what, a go-kart. Just saying.
Not mine, because I didn't go.
That's true.
But just soak it all in because it's such a great experience. And I didn't know that I would be going back. That performance with Eclipse could have been my last year of ever doing that ever again. And it's such a blessing to be able to go back and now not only go back, but take my kids so they can experience all of it. And now they have traditions that they want to do.
Yeah.
They want to add on. It's such a cool thing. So my biggest thing for the performances is soak it all in. Instructors, if it ain't done by now, it ain't going to be done. You don't need to be stressed. You don't need to be stressed because if you're stressed, your kids will see it and they'll get stressed.
Yep.
You need to be the calmest, and you enjoy the route too because that's the fruit of your labor. Like they're only as good as they are because of you. And they will do it for you. And you don't want them to do it for you, but they're going to because they have that much trust in you. They want to do the best that they can for you and for each other. So, as an instructor, just as much as a performer, enjoy the ride. Try to be a spectator when you watch them perform instead of a an instructor or even a judge. Because like you said, we can get real critical. Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe he did this. I can't believe he did this.
Here it comes. Here come the roll. Here come the roll.
It's a running joke now. I tell the kids, it's like there are 3 seconds in the show to make my butthole about that type.
Yeah, I know it. I know it.
It's like,
I know it, dude.
He's like, can you not use a different analogy? Like, no, because that's the exact feeling that I have.
Yeah, you understand it, don't you?
I'm like, ugh.
Yes.
Yeah.
100% accurate.
And then
I need you to be clear.
Exactly. Yeah. And then if you're going as a spectator for the first time or just in general, be the biggest cheerleader of all of these groups. Now, guards don't have a problem with this. If it goes in the air, they clap it. I don't care if it's caught. They can throw the thing in the audience. It hit somebody with the rifle in the audience. They still clapping.
Hit that nacho guy. Hit that nacho guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hit the Diet Coke. Hit the Diet Coke.
Crying, weed done came off.
Yeah,
still
the
clapping.
drum lines, the percussion folks, man. If it felt good to you, clap.
Exactly.
For real. If you liked it, clap for it. Like your clapping is not going to influence somebody's score. It's not. No judges ain't paying no attention to that.
Don't be scared if you don't know where to clap or when, because nobody else is clapping or whatever. You heard or you seen something that looked cool or sounded cool, clap for it. Because I be in my house clapping, and I know they mad at me out here.
Boy, if you've ever been blessed to be by me and Will at a show, particularly a drum line show, we
probably won't watch half of it, but that ain't the point.
We make more noises. Like, we'll just be sitting there like, and do that. Like, what they laughing for? Like, did you not see what just happened on the floor? Did you not hear that? That was nasty. Not the stick toss. I don't care about them throwing the stick halfway across the floor. He just did a putter off the left at 240. Like, what? Who does that? And they're 12. Like, why 12 and can do that?
Almost went back home and not even attended the competition one year. We barely made it out getting the packet.
Was it Mystique?
Huh?
What are you talking about? Go ahead.
No,
That's been a few times this way.
I'm saying you and me barely. Like, I was ready to take the kids back home after we got off the bus to get the packet. We had just got there to get the packet. It hadn't been 2 minutes and something was shown on the TV screen. You said something, and I was done.
No telling.
I was done. Because I think, because you had to have said credits or something.
Oh, we were at the hotel. Oh, I was thinking about this the other day. We were at the hotel. See, instructors even have memories from the hotel. We were at the hotel. I don't know what movie we were watching. I can't remember the name of the movie. We were sitting there watching the movie, and they were in this mine, or they were in a mine, and this dude said something, and it got quiet, and I was like, woo, credit.
I'm ready to call everybody. Pack it up. Pack it up.
Lost it.
Hey, wake everybody, pack it up.
Go get the truck.
We're going back to Kentucky right now.
He lost it. I know one. And Chris, you were here for this one. The Boston Strong year. We were at Circuit Championships, and we were in a lot. And they did something.
Yes.
They did something towards the end of the show. I don't know what it is. It might have been something as simple as a crescendo or something. They just, I was like, no, no. I was like, they here. They don't need us. It was something stupid towards the end of that show, and I was like, they are trying to win everything.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to get bumped at Circuit Championships.
They was mad.
I was like, I looked at Will. I was like, this ain't East. Who is this?
Like, that's one of the best things, though, is like when you're in the warm-up area and you feel your kids like collectively lean forward in their seat and take everything up a notch, like because the group next to them sounds good in their warm-up too. You're like, you care,
So you can go Super Saiyan. Is that how it is?
You want to talk about mothers?
Yeah, there are a few days when that happens, but that day I was like,
and crescendo and day crescendo.
It had to have been something like that. I don't know what, but I was just like, what you ain't finna do? I was like, Will, he said, I heard it. I know. I said, we're good. I said, guys, let's go. Pack it up. I was like, I ain't even got nothing to say. Let's go. Because I was just like, at that moment, they were locked in. There was nothing that I could have told them to make them play any better than they did that day. They were ready. They were there and in the moment.
Autobots roll out.
Oh, that was so
I could not when he.
Oh, and it's on the tape.
Not to call him right now, but like, hey,
on the official CD.
I have it.
Oh, man.
All of these laughs come from World Championships. And all you got kids and you got instructors and you got judges. Judges are even going to have a good time for this too, that are going to be enjoying themselves. So my biggest thing for you guys, if you're recording down, or you even watching it on Flow Marching, enjoy it. Enjoy it. Make a memory. I hadn't talked to you guys about this, so this is kind of breaking news. I'm pretty sure that I'm going to do a watch party for World Class Saturday night. So if anybody wants to join me on that, and you guys are also welcome to do that, listeners and stuff like that. I'll have more information about that out later. But it's watch it with friends. I used to have watch parties at my house for guard too. Like people used to come over and we used to watch that. So I don't know. I may see if Allie's not bored and wants to come over and watch some of it and have another perspective that actually knows what you're talking about.
Yes,
more than that,
that would be great.
But no, it's such a fun time. Such a fun time. I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, this is the most animated that you'll ever see me, probably. Unless we make finals, and then I'm probably not going to go. I'm just going to let the kids go.
I will be at the hotel in the shower crying. That's why I will be.
I'll be in the hospital.
If you hear a real loud F yeah at about 4:00 p.m. next Thursday, well, that's about 2:00 your time. Sorry, 1:00 your time, because it'll be 3 your time. So anyway, if you hear one, you'll know. And actually, Will probably know before I will, because here recently he's been texting me stuff before I even. I'm like, what? How did you know? I don't even have a recap yet. What are you?
Will's got that extra special competition suite. He gets all the numbers. That's what it is.
I swear he was ESPN. He used to be ESPN. Swear. I have a photo somewhere, and then we'll get off because it's over an hour and 15 minutes. But I have a photo somewhere of that photo. I screenshotted it. It was Will posted Saints scored, and ESPN posted the touchdown, and then Will posted the field goal, and then ESPN posted it. He posted faster than ESPN.
Will just got fingers of fire, man. He's pow. He's fast.
He don't play when it comes to his saves.
You know, his workout regimen, he's doing all his workouts. He just has these finger things. He just that's his thing. That's his thing.
Oh man.
So let us know down below. I'll find that picture. Anyway, so let us know in the comments below. Are you going to WGI Championships this week to watch the guards? If so, let us know in the comments below. Who you're rooting for? Who do you think should win? Who's going to be a big surprise? Just make sure that you're watching. I think I know what y'all are laughing at, and it is. Anyway, you can find us on all social media aspects. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. You can listen to this podcast on Spotify and Anchor.fm. If you like what you hear, like, comment, share, subscribe. Like I said, if you go on a date this weekend, be careful. Let us know in the comments below what you take. I would ask that if they have anything else to say, but I don't think they do.
I got one thing. I got one thing.
Okay,
All
right. I just want to say, spin with your hearts. Spin with your hearts. That's what I tell my guard every single time. Spin with your hearts. Have fun. Can't wait to watch this weekend. I can't wait. Yep. Reach for it. Judges.
Reach for it. There we go. Great skills.
Project.
Congratulations to Franklin Simpson on their medal at Circuit Championships.
I'm trying to get to go to Worlds next year.
Nope.
They still doing it.
They still doing it.
Zach is gone.
And he's out.
Not doing it.
So for Will and Chris, because Zach is obviously not here. Oh, he's back.
I'm back.
For Will and Chris is back. I'm Cedric. It was been episode 33 of On the Back Cash. You guys take care, and we are
Tut.
out.
God dang Pelicans.